obviously were a little bit of jitters. I was excited, nervous to be out there. Just wanted to not let my guys down.
I thought our guys brought energy. I thought we could have played better. There was some sloppiness that's kind of reflective of where we are, and probably a lot of us at this stage, first time in the stadium.
Not really too concerned about the stats. You gotta give credit where credit's due. They have a great defense, especially defensive front, and they made some plays, and we weren't able to win the game today.
All right, guys, I appreciate you. I was talking with the team a little bit afterwards, make sure I checked on every player. So I'm sometimes slow out of the locker room, so I appreciate your patience.
Joe Judge a little slow out of the gates. His first game as head coach of the New York Football Giants. Look, got a tough draw. He doesn't make the schedule. They play the Steelers once every 4 years. They got to play them last night to start the season with no fans present. So, hey, all things considered, I think it went better than it could have for Joe Judge. Yes, they lost 26-16. Yes, there was a late game touchdown that ultimately didn't make much of a difference, but either way, either as to the outcome of the game or as to the outcome of any wagers placed on the game. But still, they should have been blown off the field. I was stunned the line was only 6 points for that game. I think the Steelers, a dramatically better team, and it could have been a much longer night for the Giants. I thought they did a good job of keeping the game competitive for much of the first half.
Well, yeah, no question. I mean, first off, like what you said, let's be realistic about this. Did we really think the Giants were going to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers? The Giants are in a rebuild mode. And thanks. Oh, yeah, Joe Judge, he must have been like, oh, great, I get to play Pittsburgh opening week. We have offensive line issues. I got a rookie left tackle. I got a second-year quarterback. I got a brand-new offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. I mean, it couldn't get any harder. And you're right. The Steelers are in a different class as far as just a put-together football team right now. And the Giants, I thought, hey, I know they lost 26-16, but I kind of echo what you said. I still think it was a good look in which they played, and they were competitive in the football game. Pittsburgh gives them the early turnover, kind of gets them 3 points, gets them confidence. Daniel Jones makes the big throw, and all of a sudden we're sitting there in the third quarter, right, Mike? And I'm going, whoa, it's 16-10, and Daniel Jones is Danny Dimes right now, and they're driving down the field on the Steelers. And then the Steelers make a typical Steelers defensive play, knock the ball in the air, and the rest was history after that. Pittsburgh took control of the football game.
Yeah, and it really did feel belated that the Pittsburgh Steelers got to that point. But it felt all game long like it was inevitable it was going to happen, in large part because one of the best running backs in the NFL had one of the worst nights any running back in the NFL has had since the merger. Saquon Barkley becomes only the sixth running back since the 1970 AFL-NFL merger to have 15 or more carries and to have 10 or fewer yards in the game. You almost have to try to have the ball 15 times and only gain 6 total yards, but that's what happens when, number one, your offensive line isn't very good, and number two, you're going against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I still submit that Barry Sanders is the only guy under circumstances like that could still find positive yardage.
Well, yeah, you're right. And, even him, I saw him in some days outmatched on the Detroit Lions coming to Giants Stadium, and similar looks just like that, where you get the ball and the dam breaks. Anybody watching that game last night, you can't sit here and realistically go, well, Saquon didn't do a good job. They could have brought out the Hulk and the Avengers, all right? I don't care who the hell it was. They weren't going anywhere last night. I mean, every time he got the ball, he was swarmed. And that Steeler defense, Mike, I know we've talked about it a lot this offseason, but man, they just hit the ground running. They are so talented and dominant and unique in how they call their defense and just physical. To me, they were one of those teams that looked like it didn't matter we didn't have preseason. We've been hitting all along in training camp. We're ready to go. Let's play some football. It was a good look for their defense to start.
Not a surprise either, because every message we had gotten from Mike Tomlin throughout camp has been one of unity. No players opted out. No players tested positive. Every player was wearing the same name, Antoine Rose Jr., on the back of their helmet last night. This is a team that does everything as a team, and they've always been that way. Remember the last CBA 2011, what happened? They all voted against it as a team.
Right.
Mike Tomlin is able to pull all those individuals together and get them all on the same page, and that attitude manifested itself last night. Everyone was on the same page.
Right.
Here's Saquon Barkley. We mentioned 15 carries, 6 yards. Saquon Barkley talking about his rough night in the first game of his third NFL season.
I got to be better. I got to be better for the team. Got to find a way to get the run game going. That's just how I truly believe. I got to go back and watch film to give you an honest answer. Can't just talk off emotions, but one thing that just pops off in my mind is find a way to get the run game going for this team. I know that's going to be a key part of our success, and I truly believe in it, and I still believe in it. And, just keep grinding at it, keep working at it, and find a way.
Now, look, I mean, not a whole lot of teams got their running game going week one, and I wonder if come Monday night some of the other teams should have realized the running game may not be there at this point. Maybe the offensive line isn't ready to push the defensive linemen around and create holes like they normally do. I mean, I saw a lot of Derrick Henry running outside. We're going to talk about that game later. Now, Benny Snell, who ended up carrying the load after James Conner exited with an ankle injury. Benny Snell showing he can get it done, 19 carries, 113 yards. So the Steelers, again, defying expectations because they are the ultimate team, and they did have that statement in the running game that other teams didn't. And it's funny, we went into week one with all the indications James Conner was going to be the bell cow for the Steelers. If you can't run, if you can't play, if you can't suit up because of injury and you're a running back, next man up. And if the next man up is going to get 113 yards on 19 carries, you're the first man down. And this is now, I think, going to be Benny Snell's job.
Probably.
Especially if James Conner misses more than a game or two with this ankle injury. And I know it's frustrating, but when you're a running back, you have to be able to play. That's the one thing that made Emmitt Smith the all-time leading rusher. He wasn't the fastest, wasn't the most agile, wasn't the strongest, wasn't the biggest, wasn't, the best from a talent standpoint, but he was the most durable.
Yes.
So he kept going and going and going and going, and that's the key, and Benny Snell is going to get the chance to do that. But Saquon Barkley is going to have to make it happen. And, and again, it's one game.
That's right.
Roll it up in a ball and throw it in the trash can, right? Move on to the next game. How teams react to disappointing performances, how players react to disappointing performances first one is going to be the important factor going forward, Chris.
Well, it is. And, to be realistic about the situation, too. They, like you said, I believe even Monday morning, just going, yeah, well, if this team had a different week one opponent, we might be looking at them differently going into week two. But they got the short stick or the short straw, whatever the hell that is. They got Pittsburgh, who's angry and pissed off and got more big, bad dudes on their football team than just about anybody in football, and the Giants are still finding their way. Saquon's a space runner. He had no space last night. So they're going to have to continue to work on that as the New York Giants as far as getting him the ball. You see what he can do when he gets a screen or something out in the pass game, how special he can be when you just give him something. But he's not like Derrick Henry, who I know we'll talk about in the second segment, where you can just go, hey, there's nothing there. Just put your shoulder down, big boy, and knock them all down for 3 or 4 yards. There's nothing there. That's not what Saquon Barkley does. That's not in his game. It's never been part of his game. So they're going to have to work on that. And then, Mike, the question you bring about Pittsburgh's running back, I mean, I don't know. You tell me. Let's have a combo about it. To me, it's the biggest question about their team is that position. I mean, it was very underwhelming looking overall production-wise, I thought, until, okay, now Steelers got control of the game. They finally started to wear the Giants out. The Giants' D was on the field a little bit. And like you said, it started to show the Steelers were in a little bit of a different class. And, yeah, they started to open up some big holes. But still a concern for me going forward. I wasn't overly impressed with how all the running backs looked there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, maybe they have to pass to set up the run, which is kind of what they ultimately had to do last night. Let me just take a brief pause here, because when you said short stick and then said short straw, you meant to say short end of the stick, and that's not a Simmsism. We're not going to turn that into a thing for tomorrow. But I do need to tell you, we now have our loyal fans of this program constantly on the lookout for Simmsisms in other shows. I got an email yesterday from somebody who pointed out that on Judge Judy's show, your neighbor, Judge Judy, by the way, a plaintiff said the truth is in the pudding. So it's
it.
what could have been
Right.
a Simmsism uttered
Right.
by a plaintiff on Judge Judy. So they are looking for Simmsisms wherever they may find them. Who knows?
I
Maybe
like
there will
it.
be a version of the dictionary where the word Simmsism becomes a word instead of one of the Simmsisms themselves. The Steelers have Ben Roethlisberger back. It was his first game in nearly a year, 52 weeks since his elbow injury. 21 for 32, 229 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 2 sacks total for the game, 1 in the first half, 1 in the second half. He looked at one point like he was grabbing at his knee a little bit. We'll talk about that later. Here is both Ben Roethlisberger and Juju Smith-Schuster talking about the return of Big Ben.
I feel great right now. Obviously, adrenaline is still probably pumping, and we won the game. I'm going to be sore tomorrow. There's no doubt. I got some bumps and bruises, but in terms of elbow and everything else, I feel really good right now.
Him being out of it for one whole year and coming back, we kind of start off slow on our offensive side, but once we picked it up and once Ben figured out, what he liked, we executed the plays. Basic, simple plays, went out there and dominate. And like I said, Ben's always been Ben, and as you can see, he did today.
Every time I see Juju Smith-Schuster, I think he's younger than my son.
Oh.
And he is younger than my son. My son's 24, by the way, today. It's my son's birthday.
Wow.
Tell him happy birthday. He loves you. He likes you more than he likes me.
Man, happy birthday, Alex. I mean, way to go. You deserve a big happy birthday. I hope your rich father gets you an awesome gift, okay?
Okay, that's enough.
All right?
That's enough.
Awesome gift. Just tell me what you want, and I will badger him, and we'll get it done, Alex. You the man, dude. I mean, you seriously, you deserve. I mean, you as a father, you deserve to get him a really good gift. Come on.
And I had a flashback to last year. I was interviewing Juju Smith-Schuster about this time in the season.
Yeah.
And he was doing a spot with Tide as his sponsor. And at one point I said to him, Juju, you're younger than my son. You ain't washing your clothes. And he started laughing. It's like, yeah, hey, he's 24. And, well, you know what
think
he does?
he's happy?
He does when he's home. Who?
Juju. Yeah.
Juju's real happy because
Right.
all that talk, he's not a number one receiver. He's not a number one receiver. Well, he had 2 touchdowns last night. Doesn't matter whether he's a number one receiver or not if he's scoring touchdowns.
No, exactly. I mean, that to me, he just looked so happy on the field yesterday in general. Even after the game when Big Ben's being interviewed, he runs over, that's my quarterback, because he's going, damn, it feels good to be in an offense again that a quarterback can spread the ball around the field and take advantage of what I'm good at. And Big Ben, Mike, I think you said it. He started out getting hit a little bit, little rusty. I think more than anything, he was just getting used to the chaos around him. And he's trying to, make sure he stays out of harm's way to a degree. Like, I remember he missed that first 3rd down out route right to the right side. I think he threw it a little high. He was protecting his legs. He's just getting used to the mosh pit once again, which there is something to that, even for a guy and a legend like Big Ben. But, overall, I thought really he settled in nicely. After that TJ Watt interception that gave them the short field touchdown, and then when they got the 2-minute drive right before the half, I went, all right, Big Ben settled in. Here goes the Steelers offense. Let's see what they got. And we saw some young, good-looking receivers that could help them out this year.
Yeah, he made it clear leading up to week 1 he was going to be more nervous than anyone. With that much time between games, all the focus, all the effort, all the attention paid to getting that elbow right and getting the rest of his body where it needs to be. And when that game ended, he had that football. No one was getting that football out.
Seriously.
He's taking that football home after his first game back. But, Chris, and with Big Ben, you never quite know when he's really injured. That's part of the legend that is Ben Roethlisberger.
Sure.
But at one point when he ran the ball, he scrambled away from pressure. He kind of reached down and grabbed his knee, and I was watching after that to see if there was any type of limping, any type of anything. And with Ben, you come to expect limping even when there's no reason to limp. But he seems fine. He seems healthy. It looks like he got through the game unscathed. Now 15 more to go, but so far so good from a health standpoint for Ben Roethlisberger.
Yes, but I won't lie. There was a few times early on in the game where I looked over at my wife and I went, man, I don't know. Florio might be right, honey. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, he's been saying, is this, is he just too beat up? Is he going to be okay? I was a little worried about him, really, the way it started. Yeah, grabbed his knee early on, kept grabbing this and that. Yeah, he's a little bit like that, I guess, a showman or a diva that way. But I'm just glad he made it through. And I just think we see if he can stay healthy, they got a good O-line. You see the receivers that go along with Juju Smith-Schuster. James Washington looks better. Deontay Johnson looks better. We saw a little flash from my man Chase Claypool. We saw Eric Ebron, and you start to go, damn, okay, if they can protect that big sucker down back there and he can be somewhat consistent, that defense is Super Bowl caliber. And they could shock us all and be that team in the Super Bowl for the AFC this year.
And again, you never know how good the team is that beat you. You never know how bad the team is that you've beaten. It's entirely possible the Steelers have beaten a team that's going to be in disarray all season long. We just don't know.
Yeah.
We won't know until we see more games, until we see good teams come across good teams when they play the Ravens, when they play teams that you would look at and say, yeah, we know already that's a good team. But the Steelers, we have every reason to believe they are going to be a good team. With the Giants, we just don't know what they're going to be. Glass half full, they did play well. Danny Dimes played well. First half, the 41-yard touchdown to Darius Slayton. I mean, look, they've got something going on offensively with Jason Garrett there, and we talked about that in the offseason. The idea that Jason Garrett, despite any and all flaws as a head coach, is still a damn good offensive coordinator. He may be this generation's Norv Turner, where he's good enough as an offensive coordinator to keep getting coaching jobs he fails at. And at some point, you just accept the fact, I'm going to be an offensive coordinator and be the best offensive coordinator I can possibly be. And, you know, it was working. Now, as you said, the running game wasn't there, but with the passing game, it definitely was there.
Yeah, I mean, it was there enough to keep them competitive. And again, you know, let's be realistic about what we saw from Daniel Jones. We saw a lot of good. We saw a guy that was playing quarterback and was severely outmatched as far as his offense compared to the other defense. And, you know, when you talk about Cameron Fleming at right tackle, who's kind of a career journeyman, and then you got a brand new rookie left tackle and Andrew Thomas starting there out of Georgia. Man, hey, they must have been like, geez, we got to go with T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree and Stephon Tuitt and Cameron Hayward and Tyson Alu. I mean, they got some beast up front. So he was under duress. But once again, I think Daniel Jones showed he's capable of making plays and kind of putting the team on his back at moments. I mean, that drive that ended up with the interception on the 1-yard line, which ended up being his worst play of the day because he scrambles to the left, the game's 16-10. You're going, whoa, the Giants score a touchdown here, and this game goes 17-16. We're going to have a ball game. It's going to go down to the very end. They've hung around long enough to where you're going to go, okay, here we go. And that was the worst play of his night, not feeling where Bud Dupree was. But I know you and I were texting on that drive before that. I mean, as that drive was going on, and he was on point, whether it was scrambling, you know, the fourth down conversion, backing up, back leg, Saquon Barkley, high-level throws. Again, I just think Daniel Jones showed that he belongs in this league, and he has a chance to be a special quarterback.
One of the most important items on the stat sheet, the absence of fumbles for Daniel Jones.
That's right.
And there were a couple of occasions you saw him cover that ball up. He's aware. He knows what happened last year with 18 fumbles, the most by any player since 2002, Dante Culpepper, I believe. We talked about that in the offseason.
Yep.
But you've got to have that clock in your head. You've got to get rid of the football. The interception in the first half, too, was just a very athletic play by T.J. Watt. Great anticipation.
Right.
Dropping out of the pass rush posture and jumping up and catching the ball. But that was a quick bang-bang type of a thing. And you're right. You know, you can't hold on to the ball for that long. Against the Steelers defense, unless somebody pops wide open, you're going to eventually get yourself into trouble against the Steelers defense if you have the ball that long.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, you know, with the way you can look at it too, a lot of positives like we just mentioned. And the interceptions, I think, are even ones you can look at as a coaching staff and go, hey, interceptions are never good. And we know that. But these are two that you'll be able to deal with if you're coaching the quarterback or Jason Garrett. The first one, yeah, Pittsburgh got $1 million players over there too. I mean, T.J. Watts, he's NFL defensive MVP candidate. He's that type of player. Makes a great play. It's a slant route. He reads the 3-step drop. He jumps up. He intercepts the ball. I mean, that's special. The other one, again, it's probably the coaching point will be Daniel Jones. You're scrambling to the left. You got to feel that guy there. Just throw it away. Live to play third down, and let's see if we can punch it in then. But I think that, you know, the point you brought up about the fumbles and everything, I thought there was a a consciousness about that last night, even a few times where I felt like he went to the first read, went to the second read, and was like, wait, I could probably sit here and get to the third read, but things are getting a little tight here. Let me get out of Dodge. And those are things last year I didn't see, where I think he just would have sat in the pocket, continued to pat the ball. And I think you're already seeing a guy kind of learning and progressing and getting used to the NFL.
How difficult is it to run to the left when you're right-handed? And for you, it would be run to the right when you're left-handed.
Well,
but
yeah.
to run opposite your a guy is chasing you and try to throw the football accurately. And is there a point where you just say, screw it, I'm not Patrick Mahomes, I'm not going to try to do this?
Well, there is. There's a point where you got to realize, okay, the guy that's chasing me, Bud Dupree, is big, and he's every bit as fast or faster than me. And especially when you're running to your non-natural side, right? So he's a righty running to his left. You have to give yourself a little extra time to get rid of the ball in that scenario, because to throw it again, because it's your unnatural side, there's going to be that little extra, I'm running to the left, but I got to kind of gather my body and swing my shoulders a little bit to get my body in the right position to throw the football. And that's where, he misgauged, or whatever you want to say, just didn't realize how quickly Dupree was getting on top of him. And again, that's another learning thing. He's got to realize that, or just fall and throw the ball out of bounds, right? He was out of the pocket. He didn't have to worry about throwing it near a player or whatever it is. Just make it look ugly and get it to the line of scrimmage. But that's one that's going to keep him up a few times this week.
Knowing the limits of your physical abilities, I think, is critical for any athlete, no matter how accomplished they are. And the problem is, you see guys with unlimited physical ability, and you think, you know what, they can do it. Why not try it myself? But other than Patrick Mahomes and maybe Kyler Murray, maybe Russell
Rodgers.
Russell Wilson could do that, and we'd be like, we didn't even realize he did it.
No, exactly right.
Mahomes does it, and it's spectacular, and we play it back 1,000 times. But yeah, it's a hard thing to do.
It is.
Running to your opposite side with someone chasing you. And with Mahomes, and it happens so fast.
Yeah.
You don't need that extra time.
They don't need to gather the body
to make it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, you're right though. That's exactly what they can just do it with their arm, where their body, they can still run full speed, and their arm is so loose and flexible, and they can throw from so many weird angles that they can just run, and they don't have to do that gather step and turn the shoulders and do all that quite the way most quarterbacks have to do, is what you're explaining.
Question.
Answer.
What is worse as well, not yet. You don't know what the question is. Question. What's worse as a quarterback? Having your teammates set you up first and goal at the 3 and only getting 3 points after they put it on a silver platter for you, or originating on your own a 19-play drive and working 87 yards and ultimately coming up with nothing?
Oh, well, they'll both piss you off when you come away with 3 or nothing in these two scenarios. I think the more heartbreaking one, though, is the 99-yard drive. You put in all that work. You're playing this great defense. You're going, man, we executed so many plays so well. Other plays we didn't execute as well, but we found a way to get it done and get first downs and keep mounting the drive and keep it all going. And then when you get down there and you feel like, oh, man, we got this defense right where we want them, they're exhausted, and you let them off the hook there, that's demoralizing, because it really – like it's just a huge momentum swing where you feel like you got all the momentum, and then just like that, the defense that you thought you had on the ropes and was tired and everything like that, now they feel energized, and it's like, oh, hey, that didn't even happen, and you go back to the sideline going, damn, what do we got to do here to put it in the end zone or make this thing right? So that's probably worse, even though that first one was bad too.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Not only are you processing the disappointment of not getting points, you're dealing with the frustration and the question of what the hell are we going to do differently the next time if that didn't work, right?
Exactly right. So you're sitting there again, once going, man, can we punch it in? Can we go on a drive against this defense with all the playmakers they have and everything like that? And of course, Pittsburgh, they adjusted too. Once they got beat deep by Darius Slayton on that deep post route and great throw by Daniel Jones, I don't think there was too many opportunities to put the ball up deep the rest of the night. I think Pittsburgh, from that point on, just said, okay, well, let's see if this young offense can execute and go on 10 and 12-play drives against us. And that was one of the few times they did. They put it together, but it just didn't end up the way they wanted it to.
Where do you think the holes would be in that defense based upon who they have right now?
Yeah, the holes in that defense, the first thing that is, there's going to be holes in the defense. It's just going to be about, can you protect long enough for your receivers to get to some of those holes? That's the big thing. And I still think Pittsburgh is not a great man-to-man defensive coverage team, but if you have just a good idea of where blitzes are coming and just not getting totally overrun in the pass game or with the pass rush, there's going to be holes because it's going to be primarily zone coverage. It's why we saw Brady in New England carve them up for so many years. It's why, I even think about Patrick Mahomes against this defense, and I think that was his first game ever or second game ever, I believe, out there in Pittsburgh. Same type of thing, though, where if you got speed and you could protect and you're in a good spot to throw the ball there, there's going to be moments where, hey, the guy's supposed to go on a 25-yard seam route, but oh, man, there's a avoided zone. Here, just throw a rifle at him at 12 yards. Hey, I was supposed to throw it at 25, but, the safety went deep across the field. This linebacker dropped up. This nickel back blitzed off the edge, and I got the ball, and I just saw a void. So, hey, be ready to turn around. You got to kind of play a little street ball against Pittsburgh because it's not going to be perfect. Your coach can tell you all week, like, when we run this play, we want this coverage. And you get out there against Pittsburgh and you go, hey, coach, I don't know what the hell this coverage is. They're playing something over here and something different over here, and 3 linemen dropped out. So I don't know what the hell that is. You got to be able to adjust on the fly that way, and that's where they kind of challenge you because they'll challenge your rules and the way you're coached, and they kind of cause chaos in the quarterback's brain because nothing quite looks the way you practiced or even when you normally play a game because they're a little exotic that way.
And just to illustrate how thin the line is between victory and defeat, even when there's a 16-point deficit late in the game, the Steelers are up 6. The Giants fail to capitalize on that long drive.
Right.
Steelers drive down 62 yards in 9 plays for a field goal, an important 3 points to put it to 9, not 6, because 6 was the spread.
And they missed 2 extra points already.
Right. Giants go 3 and out. Steelers get it back, and they suffocate them with a drive that takes the clock from 12:23 down to 5:23, 7 minutes off the clock. Touchdown makes it 26-10, game over. Yeah, the Giants get a touchdown late, but it didn't matter at that point. Made it respectable. It was a good drive from the standpoint of how the score is going to look in the newspaper today, to the extent that there are any newspapers anymore. I never know. But 26-16 looks better than 26-10, but the reality is it was a hell of a lot closer than that.
Yeah, it was. You're right. I mean, it was in the balance. We always felt Pittsburgh was the better team, but they were a little sloppy and let the Giants hang around, and you kept going, man, Pittsburgh makes one mistake here. They could be in trouble. But luckily for them, Cam Hayward gets that interception, and then finally Pittsburgh put a drive together, got that field goal, like you said, and put the Giants in a tough spot to where now you're going, all right, Giants, you haven't been able to run the ball, and now you're down by 9, and you can't really waste time running the ball at all now, and that's not what you want to be against Pittsburgh. And, nonetheless, cheap yards, cheap touchdown at the end of the game for the New York Giants. They need the reps. They need to build on something offensively, and they'll take it. They will. That's at least something positive, and they put enough good plays out on film to where they'll grow as an offense from this performance, even though they lost.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.